So we're gonna have fun with this haircut. So to start, I'm gonna remove some of the hair on the sides because honestly he has a lot of hair and sometimes it's hard to fade when you have so much hair on the sides, right? So we're gonna clean our canvas, to say it like that. So we're gonna use a number 3. We're gonna kind of scoop the hair out as we get to the ridge, just because I don't wanna remove too much hair and then, you know, and change the shape that I want to create. So we still want to keep it square on top, so this is gonna be just to remove the hair. So we're gonna go ahead and use our Supra with the 5 zeros. I'm using it in this way just because, how I said, the client has a lot of hair, so I wanted to make sure that my first guideline was very precise. Just be careful when you do your guides like this, because if you make a strong line, or you press too hard, you might make a line that is gonna be kind of hard to remove. So just be very careful. If this is the first time you're gonna do something like this and you're gonna make your guide like this, what I recommend is to don't use like a 5 zeros, use a 3 zeros, or use your machine with a lever like halfway or something, so just to avoid you creating the harsh line. So anyways, now after, we're gonna go ahead and use our electric shaver. With the electric shaver, just make sure you do the same thing. You always scoop the hair out kind of like on a C motion, just because you don't want to create harsh lines, you want to create soft lines, so it makes it easier to erase. You can also use your trimmer if you create any lines with the shaver, which happens a lot. So that's what I'm saying, just be very careful when you use a shaver. So we're gonna go ahead and create our second guideline. We're gonna use our machine with the lever open, and then this guide is gonna be about like a finger width pretty much. And a lot of you always ask me like how to make your guides, what's the width that you gotta make them, and it changes, but usually it's like a finger width, but it changes depending on what the fade that you're doing or the haircut you do and all that stuff. So how you can see, I'm wetting the hair just because it was really annoying me that the amount of hair that he had on the sides, it was making it kind of hard for me to fade. So I'm gonna cut the top, I'm gonna cut the sides first, create my shape, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do the fade. This is kind of actually what I usually do. I always cut the top first and the sides, but I just started the other way for some reason. So anyways, here I'm creating a block graduation, so pretty much I'm pulling the hair out 90 degrees from the head, and I'm going to create my first guideline, kind of creating the part, like kind of like a guide for me to know that I'm not going to go higher than down my fade, right? This also is a great way to remove kind of like remove weight, to say it like that, even though the graduation builds weight, but in this case you're removing length, right? So it lets you it makes it easier for you to work, I guess. So here I'm gonna go ahead and cut the top. What I'm doing, I'm just pulling the hair up 90 degrees from the floor, if you want to say it like that, because we're trying to create a square shape on top. And then we're gonna create a first guideline. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start kind of pushing that guide towards my next one. So let's say that's guide number 1, so now that's gonna be pushed to guide number 2. And then the reason why, because I kind of gonna leave that guide like a tiny bit longer, so I'm only directing that first guide that I made. And then that's gonna leave that line a little bit, that guide a little bit longer, and that part of the hair a little bit longer. That's where the hair is gonna part, because we're gonna do like kind of like a comb over. So I wanted that to be a little bit longer. So then, yeah, so my second guide, we're gonna push it to my third, and then my third to the fourth, and so on. Just when I get to the other side of the head, I'm kind of just gonna be very careful and over directing the hair up, because I don't want to round it. When you push one guide to the other, like 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, then you start rounding the head, right? Because you're kind of following the head shape. So we're gonna make sure to be careful with that. So here, what we're doing, we just cross-checking what we did on top, and I did vertical sections first, and now I'm using horizontal sections just to make sure that everything is good. Just make sure that I can see my cutting line, just to avoid changing the shape that I'm trying to create. So once we have that, then we continue with our cutting line. You know how I said, we creating a square shape, so we're gonna make sure you're gonna pull always when you create a square shape. Just think about the walls in where you work, right? They're always gonna be like as a room is a square, right? So you pretty much you follow the roof, you follow the walls, you follow the floor, right? That's how you know how to pull the hair. But I mean, at least that's what I do, and it helps me, it works for me. So anyways, here we kind of just doing the same thing, just connecting the top with the sides. And what I'm doing now is I'm creating like a little bit of diagonal back section, how you can see, just because I want the hair to kind of start brushing back a little bit. And you know, it's gonna layer the hair too, and it's gonna create direction. So that's the reason why I'm doing it the way I was doing it before. Usually comb overs, I've been doing that a lot, because most people, when they do a comb over, they they want it to the side, but they also want it to kind of sleek back a little bit. So I've been cutting that diagonal backs and section, and it's actually been really good, like a round graduation type of thing. So it's been working very well. So here I'm just connecting the crown with the back, to say it like that. So just all you gotta do is just grab a piece from the top and a piece from the sides of hair, and then just connect both of them. That's it. That's pretty much it. Here I'm using a diffuser to kind of dry the hair a little bit, just so I can start doing my fading and continue my fading, actually, because I already started. So here pretty much what I'm doing, I'm using clipper over comb. This is my favorite technique for two reasons. Why? Because it's kind of makes everything quicker, and two, because it allows me to create my shape and continue creating my structure. I think it makes it easier because you have more control than doing it with the guards. So that's pretty much what I use, clipper over comb. So here what I'm using, I'm connecting what I did with the scissors, I'm connecting it with what I did with the machine. That's pretty much the best way I can describe it. So I'm grabbing a little piece from the scissor work and connecting it to the clipper work. How you can see, the same thing that I'm doing here. I already have my guide there. All I'm doing is connecting, removing the hair that is between the scissor work and the clipper comb and the clipper work. That's really all I'm doing. So just be very careful with this technique. I mean, I've been doing this technique since I learned. I think that was the first technique that I learned when I started cutting hair. So, you know, I've been doing it for a long time. So for me, it's easy to do it quick, but just make sure when you start, you know, you're very careful what you're doing. Remember that with this technique, you can create your shape as well, which is something very important, and something that I've been talking a lot about it on Instagram and on Facebook and everywhere here on YouTube as well, how important it became to know your shapes and know how to create shapes and know how to create silhouettes and how to create structures in your haircut, not just know how to fade, like how to create a shade. Now it's about shapes as well. So that's why I've been little by little teaching you guys that. I didn't want to introduce it all at once because I know there's a lot of you that are beginners, but now that you know, like, we've been doing a lot of haircuts, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are more intermediate and advanced, so now we can start talking about this stuff. So here I'm using a 1.5. Remember, Andes has a 1.5 now, finally, after all these years. They have a 1.5, and they also have a half. So for anybody that used to use wool and had these cars and now they use Andes, then yeah, now we have it as well. So that's pretty awesome. So here we're using number 1. Remember that I kind of down fading, so I always start from top to bottom, lever open, and then I close it little by little. That's the way I fade. So here we're using a machine with a lever down or open, and then, you know, cut until you don't feel or you don't hear the hair cut anymore. Then you close your lever and you do the same steps. You cut until you don't hear or you don't see the clipper cutting anymore. That's when you got to change your guard. You know, sometimes like you can hear it, and it's easier when you're a beginner. You can hear that the clipper is not cutting anymore. That's the best way to know when to change your guide. So here we're using the half, so that's the older guard, the new guard that Andes has, and that guard is gonna fade from a 1 to 0. So before, Andes had a 1 and a 0, and they didn't have anything in between. So now Andes does have that, just in case that you need it. I mean, I don't really feel you need it. I don't really use them much, to be honest with you. Maybe because I got used to not having them, so now I don't really use them. I'm using this video just because this client has really difficult hair to fade. He has a lot of spaces. He has some parts that are lighter, another one darker. Some and the front of his, like his on his profile in the front, like by the temple, like his hair is like lighter. It's like softer and lighter, and towards the back is like darker and like harder, and it's different. This haircut is not easy to do, and something I noticed is that editing this video, I kind of realized that I would like to approach this haircut differently next time. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have the client, I'm gonna record this client again, because I want to try a different method to cut his hair and see how that goes. You know, like This is the beauty of taking pictures or recording your haircuts or things like that, because you can see things that you might want to change, and it lets you see a better way, like what you're doing, and maybe there's things that you don't like, or maybe things that you could be more efficient with. So that's the beauty of it. Every time I'm editing a video, I realize stuff that, oh, maybe I could do that better, I could do that differently, and it helps me a lot to like get better, you know what I mean? So I recommend you guys to take pictures, to record videos. You don't have to post them anywhere, just keep them for yourself, but these will help you look back and see how far you have gone, and how how much better you're doing, and things that you might want to change. Something that I used to always do when I used to work out, and that was something that helped me a lot with my form, for example, at the gym, doing squats, doing deadlifts, all that stuff. So I started applying it to barbering, and it has made a huge improvement. It's been a huge improvement for me. So anyways, here I'm shaping up a little bit, just keeping it very natural. With classic haircuts, with haircuts like this, you don't need to create like super strong lines, because you don't really need to, it doesn't necessarily go with it, in my opinion. So I try to keep everything very natural. How you can see this, I don't do the forehead, I don't do any of that. I don't think it's needed, in my opinion, but also depends on the client. Whatever the client wants is more important than anything. But if the client lets me choose, then I would choose not to make them make his forehead, I shape it up, or create a super strong lines, because the regrowth is not the best. And for me, a great haircut lasts more than a week, but that's just my opinion, right? So anyway, guys, as you can see, this is the final result. I think it looks super cool. This is perfect for those guys that want to rock the curls. If you like the video, if you enjoy it, don't forget to subscribe, like it, and leave me a comment. I want to see what you think of it. Take care.